The Israeli raid of an aid convoy headed to Gaza has triggered a storm of protests. There were demonstrations condemning Israel's actions in New York's Times Square and in California yesterday. CBS News correspondent Richard Roth has the latest now from London. Good morning, Richard.
Good morning, Betty. Despite the death of 9 people in that takeover at sea, there's a threat today more ships could be sent to challenge Israel's Gaza blockade. And an Israeli warning they'd be intercepted too.
Israel said this morning most of the more than 600 activists who tried to break the Gaza blockade still refuse even to give their names. And so most of the group, said to include 9 Americans, is still being detained. But 50 passengers from the flotilla have already been deported, including a Turkish woman and her infant son arriving in Istanbul. Her husband was the ship's engineer. At the UN, an emergency meeting and long night session of the Security Council produced a call for impartial investigation of what happened and condemned the acts that ended in loss of life. But by using the plural, it left the suggestion there's shared blame for yesterday's fatal violence. Pro-Palestinian activists on the Turkish ship said Israeli commandos who stormed it fired first. Buttressing its story with video of its own, complete with subtitles, Israel says troops were beaten with clubs as soon as they boarded. One commando was thrown over a deck rail, and lethal force was used only in self-defense.
But Israel is also facing criticism at home over its military intelligence and planning, why the ship's engines weren't sabotaged to stop it, why the raid went so wrong. Betty?
CBS's Richard Roth in London. Thank you, Richard.
A lot happens early on The Early Show, weekday mornings on CBS.